Shri Arun Sharma ji on planning and management of a social enterprise. Last week we had a session by him on corporate social responsibility, and today we are having we requested him as per the schedule that how he is managing his NGO. So he would first come up with the conceptual framework, then discuss the practical thing. Arun sir to this morning, and I request him to engage a session on.
The presentation, I want to do in a small activity. That is basically show you the difference between a business organization or a social enterprise. So I want everyone to raise their left hand. Kindly raise the left hand. Then from a right hand, see, you need to clap it here. Now second time with the 2 fingers attached, do it for this. Now the 3 fingers are attached, do it this. Now the whole hand. Now did you see the difference? See, initially, right, every organization has an objective of making profit. But how a social enterprise get it different from the business organization, that it doesn't have an only objective of making profit, but it runs with other objective of making a social impact. Dealing with regular shortcomings in the society. So this is how we make a difference between a social enterprise and a business organization. So we'll go to the next slide. So in this slide, we'll have a brief description about, sorry. So clapping का relation ये हुआ, for an other entity, a profit making is the only motive, right? But for a social enterprise, they do make profits, and they do also cater the social impact, the problems within a society. That is like an education, a sanitation. You see so many organizations, they're taking a CSR project and some voluntarily support as well, but not within every organization. So this is the difference between a club. Do I need to explain more? Thank you. So we'll be having a brief insight on the social enterprise, then types of social enterprises in India, then a focus area of social enterprises in India, the legal structure, and we'll have a brief show up on the comparison between a business and a social enterprise, structure of social enterprise, and then a case study. So, when we talk about the social enterprise is an organization mission driven by which applies the market-based strategy to achieve the social purpose. It can be a profit-making organization, or it can be a no profit-making organization. But the main aim or the main target of a social enterprise is to look upon the development of the society. They do within a motive. If they're making a profit, they reinvest in it within the organization towards the cause and towards the development. So this was a basic, beautiful definition by Sally Little. He has explained the difference between the organization. So if you look at the definition for a non-profit activities, it's in a tax exempted, mission-related activities are not commercially motivated. And for a non-profit earned income, a business activity generated earned income to support the non-profit mission. So for example, if in an organization that has been inculcated with a motive of supporting the social cause, then the main aim of the organization is not to earn profit, but to generate a revenue to support the non-profit mission. Then we talk about the business within a social outcome, a profit company that pursue financial returns and simultaneously generate social outcomes. There are so many examples of an organization who works on a CSR model and some of the support for the society. Then if you look at the objectives, the social return on investment through achievement of the mission, the kind of target they're taking, especially for the, if you talk about the NGOs, they have their different target in terms of developing the society. Some are work on education, some are the health. So their main objective is to achieve that mission. The second thing for a non-profit earned income is financial and social return on the investment. So on one part, they work on the financial perspective, and on the other part, they also work on the social return as well, whether the main aim or the objective has been fulfilled or not. But if we compare with the traditional business activity, there's only objective is for the financial return on the investment. Then we have some of the examples for a non-profit organization like Sartha Educational Trust. Enable India is one of the biggest organization, NGO in India, works for the development of persons with disability. For a non-profit earned income, there are Gaston Bakery and Pioneer Human Services. And if we go for the traditional, there are so many. There are like General Motors, American Express, Tech Mahindra, Tata Motors. So this is basically a difference combining with the definition of a social enterprise. The next thing that we'll be talking about is the types of social enterprise in India. There are basically 4 types. The first one is a charity one. It's also called an NGO, a non-profit generating with no revenue or profit. The second one is a social enterprise, which combines commercial and social goals, but with the emphasis on the later, profit reinvested in the community or the company. The third one is a social business. It's in a combined commercial and social goals invested lead to the equivalent increase in the social impact. And the fourth one is a profit maximization and the CSR impact that is being done. So the basic difference is an organization which is solely not working on a model of making profit. There's an organization which work on a model of maximizing the profit and then reinvesting towards the cause. And there is an organization which just works on a motive of making profits. And out of that profit, it comes under a criteria of a CSR, and which either invest the 2% of their entity into the CSR activities. The focus area of social enterprises in India. So majorly, it's a very diversified topic, but concluding, there are 5 major focus areas. The very first one is a livelihood generation. There's so many organizations, they are working, almost around 80% of organizations, they are working towards the livelihood generation. That is basically to develop the underdeveloped parts of the country. The second one is environment cause. Companies do engaged in the process of developing and protecting the environment. Then there's the education, healthcare, and economic support. So this economic support is a recently evolution that comes up in this corporate world. They also opted in a model of supporting a small organization or small ideas. The major reason of doing it, there's one thing is for sure that we can't employ everyone, and everyone doesn't have the same capacity of doing the same work. But yes, everybody has a unique quality. So they have started identifying this quality and start funding these projects. When we talk about the legal structure of a social enterprise, the first one comes as a non-profit or a public charitable organization. It is registered as a trust under Indian Trust Act 1882, a Section 25 company under a Companies Act 1956, or a society under the registrar of a society where the trust deed is being made, and a company which is under a Section 8 of Companies Act 2013, has its objective is to promotion and commerce, arts, sports, education, research, and social welfare, religion, charity, protection of environment, or any other social impact objective. So they majorly focus on these areas. They have intent to apply its profit, if any, or other income in promoting its objectives. So they're not aim at developing their own personal asset or a wealth, but anything which is being generated from it has to be deployed in the working of the social enterprises. They intend to prohibit payment of any dividend to its member. Now, there's another difference between a social enterprise and a business, organization or business enterprise. Then when the profit rate comes up, they are basically being utilized to pay down their stakeholders or the shareholders. But in a social enterprise, we are here to respect the objective of developing the community. So anything which has been generated or been done has been utilized for the for the development of the project or for the upcoming projects for the social impact. The example of non-profit or public charity organizations are Agastya's Foundation, Teach for India, Digital Green, Akshay Patra Foundation, and Sarthak Education Trust, etc. What are the benefits of being a non-profit or a public charity organization? The biggest benefit of registering a non-profit in eligibility is to get tax benefit under Income Tax Act 1986. They are also allowed to have an exemption in terms of foreign donation, which comes under an FCRA, that is Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. And they can ably and solely committed towards the working of an objective without a pressure of making profits or generating funds. But as everything has a two part of it. This can be on work on the negative as well. See, these organizations are always under a constant fear of funds. As they are not in a profit making organization, so they need to depend upon the other organizations to provide them support to carry out their activities. The second is the organization for the profit. There are 5 different types of profit organization that has been registered. That is a sole proprietorship, partnership, limited liability partnership, private firm, and cooperative. So according to the study, the Indian social sciences structure, there are the main profit-making limited companies which has been established in India within a social profit motive as the PLCs. That is the private limited companies. And by the government, it is the PCUs, PCLs, the 26 PCL companies that has been established. So now the main motive is establishing is not to make the profit, but to work on the equally distribution of income and society development. Some of the example are Astale Healthcare, the Ujwan Microfinance, the D-Lights. And when we talk about the benefits of having a non-profit social enterprise is the ability to attract funding from various capital sources, pay top dollar for a good talent, and invest in the technology and infrastructure. They can issue shares and go public limited as well. So there's no other restriction that you can't generate funds through the public entity. But there's a challenge in terms of managing these organizations. It is very hard to put both the feet on the two boats, with managing the same structure of profit making and a mission as well. And sometimes it also depends upon the kind of leader that you are having in our organization, that has a motive of putting your social work or a social impact on a front or your financial goals. So most of these organizations lack in terms of creating this balance. The third is a hybrid model. See, this is in a recent study which has been done by Indian Express, and they have come up with this model, and they suggested that initially the organization they registered as in a non-profit organization. Their sole motive was not to make profit. But eventually what happens, right, during the course of action, you need to fund your activities. You need to fund your working. So for that, you constantly look for the funds, or you need to find another way out. So they have come up with another model. They set up a sister concern or another subsidiary organization that has a sole motive of making a profit. And from that profit, they pull back to the main organization and fulfill their objectives. And recently you see there are so many NGOs and organizations, they have come up with an idea. Now Diwali season is coming. They're coming up within a candles, within a making of paper bags, gift items, and so many other things. There is a penetration in agriculture as well. So the reason why they started this activity is to have a continuous flow of the funds so that their main activity of social work or a social impact can be carried out. What is the benefit? This is the best of both worlds, allowing the social enterprise to separate the social and the revenue generating activities. But again, they face the same challenges. Focusing on the both the goals. Managing two organizations with a different objective. So that is a biggest thing. And the common thing that we have in the social enterprise. So this is a study done by Cisco, and they have clearly mentioned the difference between a social enterprise and a business organization. So when we talk about the goal for a business organization, it is to capture a market, but for a social enterprise, is to fill the market gap. The objective is to make business and to earn profit, but for a social enterprise is to create a sustainable development or a sustainable social change. The profit motive for both the organization to maximize shareholder value profit, and for the social enterprise is to advance social aims, profit as a mean to financial sustainability. There are risks involved in both the organization. There's a basic risk of business, and the second for social enterprise, it's a risk either to run out of the funds or to run out of or fall back of their social objectives. There's a link to the social problems. The business, they have indirect link. They don't really care, what has been impact. But for a social enterprise, they have a direct link to the social problems. They work only for that motive. So these are the major developments, and there's a major difference which we have in a business and a social enterprise. And recently, there was also a survey done which shows that there are 30 million NGOs or a social enterprise, a mix of all these exist in India. But the impact is not as high as been expected. Why? Because they have their own challenges, they have their own shortcomings in terms of formulating the project, in terms of developing the projects, and in terms of sustaining the project. But yes, they are being considered one of the part of a business organization within a different motive of not making a profit. Some of the example of a social enterprise is the Indian Post. The main motive is not to earn profit, but to provide a connectivity. They are directly attached within post offices that are 1,55,618 post offices. They're covering 90% in the rural areas. They're employing 0.6 million employees. And the impact is on around 200 employees. So they don't have any grants or anything, but they generate profit, they generate money out of it with their services, and then they support their activities. The second is one of the Indian railway system. It is one of the biggest railway networks we have in the world. It's the same organization which has 8,000 railway stations. There are 15,000 trains that cover equivalent to 3.5 times the mile of the distance to this moon. They don't have any special grants that has been coming up. They're employing 1.6 million people. And the main motive is a social impact, the social service, the connectivity they need to do. The second one is a Prasar Bharati. It was also started with an impact with impacting and touching around 1 billion Indians. They still have a reach of 90%, 95% areas in the rural areas, and they worked as a great system of connectivity in terms of spreading the knowledge, news, or the development. They're not running on a motive of making profit, but to provide a social impact and to fill the gap. The next one is a Tata Chemical Limited. They started with a venture of producing the salt, and they're producing 50,000 metric tons, which has also been provided on a subsidized. They're employing around 0.6 million people. There's no special grant for it. But this is to provide and to feed up the necessity of the Indian population. There's another venture. Sorry? No. This has not been subsidized with any grant or anything. The organization is not like there's no grant for it. There's no special grant for Tata Salt, for the Tata Chemicals. Like, there's a grant for so many organizations that has been coming. It's the same, but there's no special grant for the Indian Post or Indian Railways. Like we have a grant for the social enterprise, other organizations. Sorry? No, they do have a profit from this Tata Salt, but that has been pulled back in their activities. That is the Tata Strive. Yes, for the development of the society. Now they are working for the development of a marginal background of the people in terms of providing them skills and getting them employed. They've recently started their operation in Mohali. They've gotten a huge space and they're working on the skill development.
Tata Chemicals, they are generating profit and they are investing in Strive. It's just social investment.
Yes.
Working for the social
Yes. Yes.
whole profit.
Yes. 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 The next one is a Just Dial as an organization. It's everybody knows about it. The kind of it started with an idea. Is when it was started. It was started with an idea. Is to solve the people's problem. Now it's present in so many states. So if you have any problem, you just do a Just Dial. You get all the contacts or any details. So if you're looking for any help, for example, you stuck somewhere and you need a cab facility. So it can be you can use a Just Dial services. It is free of cost. They don't charge you. I'll share an example. I have to set up my center in Ludhiana and Jaipur, and for me it was a new place coming down and with no contact details. So I've set up an IT lab, I've set up a hospitality lab, I've set up a retail lab, I've set up a computer lab and 2 classrooms. That was just within a help and support from a Just Dial. I make a list of the items and I just call them and ask them, I need the vendors for these items, and they just provide me, and it's absolutely free of cost. It's not been charged anything.
You have to access the Just Dial on that.
No, with the phone. If you dial, I think it's 10 times 8. If you dial 10 times 8, they'll directly connect you to the Just Dial. And if you need any of the information, if you need a cab, if you want to look for a hotel, address, or any vendor's facility, anything, you just tell them. So what they do, they connect the small businesses, and they connect the small business. They have a database and they send you the database. That this is a database and you can pick and choose from this. And they also have this facility that if you want these vendors to give you a call, so they'll be calling you and giving the quotes and the rates, and you're not paying for all these services. For example, for the other things that you're paying, if you have to get any of the thing, you need to pay for it, but you don't pay for to get information from a Just Dial. No, it depends. It depends. They have the category. You don't have to pay every time. For example, my organization is registered with Just Dial. So if they have some certain criteria, if you want that these facilities need to be updated, then you need to pay the money. Otherwise, you don't need to pay the money. They'll just register you. It's same way like in a Google, right? If you want your page has to be on the top 10, you pay for that services. Sorry?
There are some angel investors who are investing in this platform.
Yes, that is the reason when I initially was talking about the focus areas for the social enterprises. This is one of the. Now we talk about the basic structure of a social enterprise. How what are the things that has been involved in structuring in a social enterprise. The first thing is we need to describe the mission. The second is the vision. The third one is the activity. The fourth is impact analysis. And the fifth one is the funding. So when you combine all these things, right, these are the mixture and ingredients that is required for a social enterprise to be work on a basis of producing results in terms of showing the changes that they've been needed. I'll explain it more and how it is done with an organization. So before explaining the structure of a social enterprise, I've used this model for a Sarthak Educational Trust. I'll give you a brief background and a history of a Sarthak Educational Trust. It was started. Non-government organization. Yes. You like to know about NGOs? I need to keep in a separate session for it, or need you spare 5 times to describe what an NGO? See, NGO and social enterprise has one of this vertical which is known as NGO. NGOs is the entity which doesn't make which doesn't work on a motive of making profit. Yes.
Or is it a Section 25 company?
No, it is not a Section 25 company. It's in a registered society, or it can be on basis of making a trust deed.
So if you could share some more, maybe in the next session.
Some more about NGOs. I'll explain you in this NGOs. You need to understand the working of an NGO, or you want to know the legal structure of an NGO?
Legal structure, registration process, and how is it different from a normal company? What constitutes an NGO for that matter?
Right. For that, I need to have a separate time because they involve around 25 processes with a span of 6 months at least to get registered for an NGO. And every state has their different protocols to follow.
So are they different from commercial entities?
Yes, absolutely.
How are they different? That is what
They don't make profit. Commercial entities make profit. We can't generate, an NGO can't keep the funds for generating or for making a wealth or making an asset.
Also, but they claim that they don't make profit.
You prove it how they do it.
I can prove. Yes.
Yes, please.
No, I can prove.
What are the problem?
I can prove. You see in Delhi, they started as schools. Because I myself also registered as school. I know NGO very much. They started as schools. Now they are running so many colleges. They are running universities. If there is no profit and they are taking, are you married?
Yes.
How old are your kids?
No, I just got married a year back.
Okay, if you want to get your kids admitted in Delhi, then you will come to know what they are doing.
Sir,
maybe your kid is very intelligent. Still, you cannot get admission without paying bribe to them. What are you talking, sir?
Sir, I'll tell you one thing. This is what is done.
You cannot. I am telling you, maybe your kid is having 100% in all the subjects. Still, you cannot get admission.
What I am telling you, you generalizing with an organization.
It is everywhere. It is happening. I am telling you, all the schools.
Let's not get into all this.
This is the system.
What their motive is, how it's been implemented is separate.
They have the motive on looting. Plundering the people. I am telling you. On every pretext, they are taking money. Every time we are thinking to complain. Every time I am telling you.
Then you should do it.
But my it is very simple, very easy to say this. Then you do this. I can do everywhere. Well, I will do only this.
Sir, I tell you one thing.
I should become, as per your suggestion, I should become social worker and leave my family and do other things everywhere.
No, but
India is running like this only everywhere.
I'm a social worker. I'm a social worker. I'm running my family. I'm doing the things.
Fine, you may be doing very good.
This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying, sir. I know you've been hurt or you've been, in a trouble, but what we are here discussing, we're not generalizing. सबको एक चीज नहीं.
If you see, out of 100, 95 are doing like this.
Maybe call it a 99, sir. I don't mind it.
Then you have to jump back.
Yes, you do it. You call it 99, but you can't generalize every organization with it.
It is called as exception. If they are doing honestly,
जो NGOs या जो भी social enterprises है या जो social entrepreneurship है, उसका पर्पस ही डिफीट हो रहा है ना, if they are doing all this kind of stuff.
Sir, see, now we are here to discuss what is in a purpose, what is an objective and a structure, right? This is what is an altogether different parallel. But what you're saying is absolutely correct. I'm not denying it. But what I'm saying that you can't generalize everyone into it. आप बोल रहे हैं 90% नहीं,
मतलब क्या है?
तो सर
क्या मतलब है? There are 100 people.
हाँ,
98 are doing that.
yes, no sir, it's not only you. I've yes, absolutely.
98 कर रहे हैं तो जर्नलाइज तो करोगे आप से. You are exceptions.
So no, but it's absolutely correct. बट ऐसा ना सर, हर जगह आपको ऐसा थोड़ी ना कि हर जगह आपको वही मिलेंगे.
देखिए अगर 5 उंगली बराबर हो जाएगी तो हम मान नहीं सकते, फिर तो दुनिया ही नहीं चलेगी.
Another way, so there is an NGO and it's getting lot of funding. It has a certain mission, certain goals, certain objectives. All those have been fulfilled. Then it is surplus of funds. Then what does the NGO do normally with the surplus funds?
Sir,
Still donations are pouring in.
Sir, what are more the first
yes,
part of these?
I tell you one thing. What they do?
Expand their operations.
Yes, they expand their operation and plus they generate on a corpus. Corpus, why?
That is permissible.
Yes, why? I tell you one thing. In order to take your activities on a long run, see, you are getting a funding now. It is not for sure that you get a funding in the future as well, right?
Yes. These NGOs, I would like to say, you can meet Prime Minister of India, you can meet President of India, but it is damn difficult to meet with the principal of this school. I am telling you, they will not let you allow at all. प्रिंसिपल से आप लोगों से नहीं देंगे भाई आपको, आप कुछ भी कर लो. प्रधानमंत्री से आप टाइम लो, वही मिल जाएगा आपको 1 महीने में. लेकिन प्राइवेट स्कूल के प्रिंसिपल से नहीं मिल सकता. सोशल डॉन. आप ये देखिए, मतलब आप बात कर रहे हैं सर एनजीओ की. मैंने स्कूल चलाया सर.
I think सर, मुझे लगता है आप ना बहुत ज्यादा आहित हैं इन सब चीजों से, राइट? But yes, you looks to be.
मैं अकेला नहीं हूँ.
But there are some.
वहाँ पे किसी पेरेंट की हिम्मत नहीं है वो ऐसे बात कर ले प्राइवेट स्कूल में जाकर. क्या बात कर रहे हैं सर? They are goons totally. What they are doing? They are not social workers. बेस ही इस पे बनाए, बताइए बच्चे का बेस किस पे बनाए? पीछे से पैसे लेके. What he will teach?
मैक्सिमम लोग खोलते भी हैं.
क्या सीरियस क्रिएट करोगे आप बताइए.
उसमें प्रॉब्लम पे क्या है कि हम
क्या सीरियस करोगे?
एडमिट करवाते हैं
जी.
वहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम ये भी है. यहाँ पे आई नॉट नेम इन पब्लिक मीटिंग.
I know.
एडमिशन करवाना है छोड़ से, है ना, तो ऑटोमेटिकली नहीं चलेंगे.
How is possible? सर आप क्या बात कर रहे हैं? How is possible? Is there government facility?
नहीं,
स्कॉलरिंग फैसिलिटी है तो अपने बच्चों के पास.
बट सर जरूर
यूके में है.
यूके और सर इंडिया से
गवर्नमेंट स्कूल से पढ़ के गए हैं सर. बिल्कुल गवर्नमेंट स्कूल से. उनकी गली में सिर्फ स्कूटर ही जाता है.
कहाँ पे सर?
जलंधर में.
यूके में.
ऑस्ट्रेलिया में यहाँ से निकल के गए हैं. तो कह रहा हूँ कि हम क्यों डालते हैं
सर? हम भी प्राइवेट से पढ़ गए हैं, हम भी सरकारी से पढ़ते हैं, ये भी सरकारी से पढ़ गए होंगे. वो एक टाइम था, लेकिन आज एक टाइम आप आज को और आज से 30-40 साल पहले कंपेयर नहीं कर सकते प्राइवेट.
नहीं, बट सर मैं सीरियसली मुझे अभी तक ना I'm really in a dilemma. I'm not able to understand कि आपको मतलब what is a basic challenge that आपको इस पे नहीं
नॉन प्रॉफिट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन.
आपको ये चैलेंज है, मैंने अपनी स्लाइड में एनजीओ लिख दिया.
I am saying NGOs are not non-profit organizations.
Then they are.
They, as per charter, जैसा हम सभी लिखते हैं, हम सभी करते हैं. पेपर में बहुत अनेस्ट हूँ मैं, पेपर में बहुत कुछ हूँ. वास्तव में मैं हूँ नहीं ऐसा. व्यवहार की जब बात है कि प्रैक्टिकल की बात है.
Sir, how many NGOs that you have been known? How many NGOs you have been known to? आपने कितने NGOs को विजिट किया या मिले हैं?
नहीं, मेरे तो 2 बच्चे पढ़े हैं स्कूलों में, जो है 2 स्कूलों में, तो उन्हीं से मेरा.
दो, that is true.
बहुत सारे लाइक दिस. डीएवी है
जी.
हिंदुस्तान में, मुझे लगता है डीएवी सबसे बड़ी संस्था है. उसने पैसे लिए मेरे से. तो एक न्यू ग्रीनफील्ड स्कूल है, वहाँ पे उसकी यूनिवर्सिटी चलती है, उसने पैसे लिए मेरे से. सर सुनो तो सही है, डीए का काम कर रहे हैं. डीए एडमिशन ठीक सरकारी
लेने वाला
फिर सरकारी स्कूल में करा.
वही मैं कह रहा हूँ.
नहीं, मेरे पास ऑप्शन नहीं है. मैं क्या करूँ?
ऑप्शन इसलिए नहीं कि आप
सर आपके बच्चे बड़े हो जाए तो बता.
नहीं, मैं
बड़ा आसान है.
अगर बच्चा कैपेबल है सर तो
छोड़ो मैडम, छोड़ो।
मैं गवर्नमेंट स्कूल से पढ़ी हुई हूँ, मैं भी गवर्नमेंट
तो
स्कूल
हम
से
पढ़े गवर्नमेंट
आज के है इसके
सर मैं प्लस 2 तक गवर्नमेंट स्कूल से पढ़ी हुई हूँ।
मैं खुद 12th तक गवर्नमेंट स्कूल से।
हम क्या करते हैं बच्चे नहीं भेजेंगे
पंजाब सरकार में डालो, पंजाब सरकार में डालो।
मैं यहाँ पे इट्स द पब्लिक डोमेन, मैं यहाँ पे पूरी अपनी हिस्ट्री नहीं बोल सकता, अदरवाइज हर बंदे के अपने अपने हैं। यहाँ पे निटर में एक ऐसे बंदे भी हैं जो गवर्नमेंट सिस्टम से आए हैं और ऐसे भी हैं जो आपके फॉरेन से पढ़ के आए हैं। सो वी कांट जनरलाइज। फिर वही मैं कह रहा हूँ कि इसमें देने वाले की भी उतनी ही गलती है जितनी की लेने वाले की। अगर हमें मेरे को पता है कि मेरी कैपेबिलिटी है, मैं अपने बच्चे को सेटल कर सकता हूँ, मैं नहीं भेजूंगा स्कूलों में, एंड आई विल सी टू इट कि मेरी पॉकेट अलाउ करती है कि नहीं सर, नहीं मे बी आप उस बैकग्राउंड से आप वो रेडी नहीं है आप उस चीज में फेस करने के लिए कि मैं अपने बच्चे को सरकारी स्कूल या नॉर्मल स्कूल में भेजूं। अगर नीटर में भी अगर 15 टीचर्स ऐसे हैं ना, तो 15 में से अगर 10 कॉन्वेंट सर 15 में अगर 10 यहाँ पे डाल रहे हैं अच्छे में, तो 5 ऐसे भी हैं जो मेरी थिंकिंग वाले हैं, जो एक उस एरिया से है कि हम अपने बच्चे को मिडिल उस लेवल से बनाएंगे जिससे कि उनको लाइफ की स्ट्रगल भी पता हो। ऐसा ना हो कि पापा मेरे वहां पे ये गाड़ी लेके आते हैं और मेरे को भी यही गाड़ी चाहिए, उसी में छोड़ो। मतलब इट इज अ पर्सनल डिसीजन कि आपकी वैल्यू सिस्टम कैसे। सब कह रहे हैं कि आपके लिए चंडीगढ़ एक अच्छा एजुकेशन हब है। मैंने अपनी गुड़िया को, अपने वाइफ को जलंधर में रखा अपने पेरेंट्स के साथ। वो ये सर पास कि हमने अपना डिसीजन, तो ये पर्सनल है, हम इसको जर्नलाइज नहीं कर सकते।
नहीं मैं वही कहता हूँ सर, एक
बनाता कौन है
सर, एक सेकंड नहीं आप
नहीं सर अगर
करप्शन का इतना बोलबाला आप कह रहे हैं
नहीं ये नहीं कह रहे नहीं है, बट मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि नहीं
सर मैं
बिल्कुल फिर ये प्राइवेट सिस्टम जो है ना ट्रस्ट कैसे हुआ?
नहीं वो
आप इतने सारे लोग
वो हमने किया है ना,
सिस्टम का 50% लोग भी बहुत अच्छे हैं,
नहीं
तो फ्लोरेंस कैसा हो? I have very closely observed. कोई भी आदमी जो भी अफोर्ड कर सकता है ना, थोड़ा सा भी अफोर्ड कर सकता है। कोई सरकारी स्कूल में नहीं पढ़ाना चाहता है बच्चे को, जो भी अफोर्ड कर सकता है, जो अफोर्ड नहीं कर सकता है उसकी मजबूरी है पढ़ा।
नहीं ऐसा नहीं सर, अच्छा
सर एक बात बताइए।
मानने से तो कुछ होगा नहीं। अब मेरे पास
नहीं सर नहीं
बच्चे मेरे पास डिप्लोमा आ रहे हैं, आप तो अब नहीं मानोगे।
नहीं बट व्हाट वाज द इवैल्यूएशन ऑफ दिस टॉक?
डिप्लोमा में केवल लोअर जो है उसके बच्चे आ रहे हैं स्टेट आके, आप आ जाइए कभी, आप
कल को क्या आप सर आप क्या ये जनरलाइज कर सकते हैं कि आपका जो डिप्लोमा का बच्चा है वो एक सीनियर पोजीशन पे नहीं पहुंचेगा? अगर मैं बात नहीं सर, तो वही मैं कह रहा हूँ, तो कैपेबिलिटी अगर है तो वो किसी भी स्टार्ट से आ जाती है। नहीं सर, नहीं सर, यहाँ पे नहीं, दिल्ली में ऐसे सर, दिल्ली में ऐसे लोग नहीं कि सर दिल्ली में ऐसे लोग नहीं कि सोशल वर्क ना, दिल्ली में सर दिल्ली में भी ऐसे लोग होंगे दिल्ली में भी जो उन बच्चों के लिए भी काम कर रहे होंगे। ऐसा तो नहीं कि सभी दिल्ली में, अगर वो प्राइवेट स्कूल हो गए तो वैसे ही है, आपके पुलों के नीचे भी क्लासरूम चल रही होगी, स्लम एरिया में भी चल रही होगी। ये आप दायरा अलग कर सकते हो। हाँ, तो वही है ना, तो हम उसको
दिस इज व्हाट आई सेड इन द इनिशियल स्टेज सर,
हम वही करके हम इसको जनरलाइज अब ओलंपिक्स में मेडल लेने वाले दोनों तरीके के हो सकते हैं। एक स्ट्रॉन्ग बैकग्राउंड वाला भी हो सकता है जिसका बैकग्राउंड स्ट्रॉन्ग है, एक ऐसा भी है जो एक विलेज से होगा। वी हैव सीन नंबर ऑफ एग्जांपल्स। तो हम ये तो नहीं कह सकते कि सभी ही करप्ट है, जो सभी जो प्लेयर्स पहुंचे हैं वो रेफरेंस से ही पहुंचे हैं, उनको सीट रेफरेंस से ही मिली है। ठीक है, वन एग्जांपल ऑफ स्पोर्ट्स, मेरी बात है। तो जैसे नहीं, अब मे बी उसको जो बैडमिंटन की हम बात करते हैं जिसको ट्रेनिंग चाहिए होगी, मे बी हर पर्सन को बैडमिंटन की वो वहां पे तो मिली नहीं होगी जहां पे हम सोचते हैं। एक स्पोर्ट्स पर्सन की डाइट की मैं बात करता हूँ, उसकी डाइट ही 30,000 की होती है। बट ऐसा थोड़ी है कि जिसके पास 30,000 की डाइट है वही स्पोर्ट्समैन बनाया जहाँ उसी ने ओलंपिक्स मेडल जीता है। देयर इज, आपने अभी देखा होगा उसमें एक वॉक वाला रेस था, एक लड़का उत्तराखंड से है, होटल से है, वो वॉक में मतलब कि उसने प्राइज लिया, मतलब कि उसमें चाहे टॉप में नहीं आ पाया बट वॉक करने का जो था, क्या वो स्पोर्ट्स नॉलेज नहीं है? हो रहा है धीरे धीरे इंडियन सिस्टम में, अभी नहीं होगा 3 साल बाद होगा। बट ही इज वर्किंग, वाज अ पर्सन नॉर्मल, एक सुबह उठ के ढाबा पे काम करता है और सुबह वॉक करता है। उल्टा चलता था, लोग कहते थे पागल है, कि सेंस में चला। तो जैसे तो एक्सेप्शंस और है ना, वी कांट, अगर हम जनरलाइज नहीं कर सकते। अगर बुरे लोग हैं तो अच्छे लोग भी हैं। मे बी आपका मैं ये पॉइंट कह सकता हूँ कि बुरों की क्वांटिटी या तादाद ज्यादा है। जब मैंने घर लेने की बात कर रहा हूँ, आप जनरलाइज नहीं कर सकते। क्यों नहीं कर सकते? अगर मैंने घर लेना है, मैंने व्हाइट कॉलर में लेना है, तो मैं अपने व्हाइट कॉलर में रजिस्ट्री करवाने के लिए अड़ा हूँ, चाहे मेरे को 7 लाख रुपया एक्स्ट्रा देना पड़े, 6 लाख रजिस्ट्री का एक्स्ट्रा देना पड़े, नहीं तो नहीं लेना है। जहां पे है ठीक है, बट वो मेरी रिजॉल्व है। अब ऐसी रिजॉल्व और कितने लोग रखते हैं? आप रखो ऐसी रिजॉल्व। आप मेरे को समझाया जलंधर में उस लोग ने, बंदे ने मेरे को कितनी बार कहा कोई ऐसा करता ही नहीं है जैसा आप कर रहे हो। मैंने कहा मैं तो ऐसे ही करूंगा। कहता आप ऐसा घर मैं दूंगा, मेरे से ले सकते हो, नहीं तो नहीं ले सकते। अगर डील खत्म भी होगी, मैं उसको कहा कि तेरे से ज्यादा 3 घर बना के दिखाऊंगा इसी जिंदगी में, व्हाइट कॉलर में। दैट इज द एटीट्यूड, है ना। अगर हम सबका एटीट्यूड ऐसा हो तो क्यों नहीं आपका व्हाइट कॉलर करप्शन खत्म होता? जब हमें एक प्रॉपर्टी की बात करें, चाहे हम शॉप की बात,
जितना का है, जितने लोगों का है उससे देश चल रहा है। अब दौड़ाने के लिए और लोग जुड़ने पड़ेंगे। जितने लोग टैक्स पे कर रहे हैं, जितने लोग अपना ड्यूटीज में प्रॉपरली कर रहे हैं, उससे देश चल रहा है। वही मैं कह रहा हूँ। एंड रही बात, आई विल कम बैक टू द टॉपिक ऑफ एनजीओज मेकिंग प्रॉफिट सर। देखिए, I tell you one thing, it's very much sure, what you saying is absolutely, but you can't generalize, you can't point it that, you from an NGO. No, you can't just pinpoint everyone, na, कि
ये अगर 100 में से 98 कर रहे हैं तो जो ये कहना चाह रहे हैं थोड़ा सा कि जैसे पॉलिटिशियन है, पॉलिटिशियन की एक हमारे दिमाग में परसेप्शन है, तो हमारे दिमाग में परसेप्शन क्या है? Politicians are corrupt.
Yes.
But every politician is not corrupt. तो ऐसे ही हम कह रहे हैं कि NGOs का जो एक परसेप्शन
हाँ लोगों के माइंड में, हाँ, बट वो सर मेरा वहां पे पॉइंट प्रॉब्लम पता क्या है कि वहां पे प्रॉब्लम है मॉनिटरिंग की, मॉनिटरिंग, एवेल्युएशन एंड एक्सेप्टेबिलिटी की। मेरी बात सुने कि जब हमारा वो अगर हम नहीं कर पा रहे तो वी कैंट से कि वो तो करेगा ही, जिसको मौका मिलेगा वो खराबी क्यों नहीं करेगा।
आप में से सर मैं एक चीज आपको बताता हूँ। नहीं मैं आपको एक चीज, यस
मॉनिटरिंग भी। और अगर
बट सर ऐसा तो नहीं है ना कि ये सेइंग एनजीओस ऐसा करते हैं, यू नो आई एम सिटिंग हियर, आई एम रिप्रेजेंटिंग एनजीओ, यू पिन पॉइंटिंग एनजीओस ऐसा करते हैं, आइदर यू प्रूव इट। सर आई हैव प्लेस्ड 350 पर्सन विद डिसेबिलिटी, मैं प्रूफ दे रहा हूँ ना सर आपको, आपको मैं आपने सिर्फ 2 एनजीओस को दिखाया, आई एम रनिंग इन अ नेटवर्क ऑफ 120 एनजीओस, एंड यू कांट प्रूव के सिंगल वन इज करप्ट। सर रोपड़, यहाँ रोपड़ कौन गया हुआ है? No, but you can't pinpoint every people. Yes. हाँ.
हाँ, उसका अल्टरनेट ये है, उसका अल्टरनेट में सरकार जो है कि यू गो फॉर प्रॉफिट एंड गो फॉर गेटिंग अ फंडिंग अंडर CSR. Alternatives are available. Alternatives are available. है ना? अगर हमें आपको लगता है कि आप
सोशल का जो एक क्या करना चाहिए एनालिसिस करके,
yes,
और उसका जो
impact
है ऑन सोसाइटी, आई थिंक दैट इज द मेन फंडामेंटल
Yes.
ऑफ एवरीथिंग, नॉट प्रॉफिट नॉट नॉन प्रॉफिट बेसिकली। अगर सोशल इम्पैक्ट हो रहा है then it is fine, everything is
exactly sir. That is only, see, this is what why I'm saying that, you know, we can't generalize, because when we start, I tell you one thing, I was in a meeting yesterday with Dr. Punia, right, and there were people, and he asked me that, you know, he wants to open 2 centers, one is in Bathinda and one is in another place. So I told him there's no point opening a center in Bathinda, right? He's like, I'll arrange the funds and everything, sub salaries वगैरह हो जाएगा, but there's no point opening center by Bathinda because the main motive of getting an employment for person with disability won't be fulfilled, because there are not as much as job perspective in Bathinda. So I denied that thing, and I told him, you know, whenever you work for a cause, you need to do a reverse engineering. सबसे पहले impact देखो that your main motive will be fulfilled or not. If it is not getting fulfilled, there's no point starting in. I tell you one thing, sir, I have 9 centers in 9 states. And I still got 6 projects that has been waiting कि हम उसको approve करूं और वो लोग start करें. But
आपने दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट का ऑर्डर नहीं बढ़ाया, दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट ने क्या किया पीछे, जितने भी दिल्ली के अंदर प्राइवेट स्कूल हैं उसको छोड़ के मे बी 10 को छोड़ के गवर्नमेंट ने किया, उन सबसे बड़ी हुई फीसेस जो एब्सॉर्ब कर रहे थे लोगों से, उन सबको रिवर्स कराया दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट।
इट मींस मॉनिटरिंग हो गया ना, वही बात आ गई। बट आई सेड
जब लोगों ने
हाँ, लोग सर वी आर स्टेक होल्डर्स। अगर ये चीज पहले करते, हाँ श्योर
ये हो गया, ठीक है, हुआ क्यों? लोगों से तो फीस ले ली उन्होंने अपनी तरफ से, बढ़ाओ इस पे कमीशन आ गया, फ्री कमीशन आ गया, बढ़ा दो, ठीक, क्यों लिया आपने? क्योंकि हमें अब लोगों को पे कमीशन देना है, किसी ने पे कमीशन नहीं दिया, किसी ने लोगों अपने स्टाफ में कोई सैलरी नहीं बढ़ाई, और लोगों से ये करके उन्होंने फीस ले ली। देन पेरेंट्स वेंट इनटू कोर्ट, तब जाके हुआ है।
तो ये चीज मैं कह रहा पहले हो जाना चाहिए था ये, हम है ना। तो अगर आपने आवाज उठाई स्टेक होल्डर्स ने, तो वो चीज हुई। तो मैंने एक ही वहां पे कंक्लूजन निकाला कि वो मॉनिटरिंग एंड इवैल्यूएशन का प्रॉब्लम है, इट इज नॉट अ प्रॉब्लम ऑफ, है ना, क्योंकि हमने अलाउ किया फ्लरिश करना तो ही हो रहे हैं ना। अगर मान लो 5 लड़के हैं, उसमें से एक डोमिनेटिंग है और वो कहता है कि मैंने हफ्ता लेना है, बाकी 4 उसका पार्ट बन जाते हैं, साथ में हफ्ता लेते हैं, देने वाले दे रहे हैं, ठीक है। तो जब साथ के 4 में से एक नहीं उठेगा, जहां देने वाला रुकेगा नहीं कि नहीं मैं नहीं दूंगा, जब उसको हायर अथॉरिटी के नजर में लाके उसको इंप्लीमेंट नहीं करवाएगा, देयर कम्स इन द रोल ऑफ सोशल एक्टिविज्म। सोशल एक्टिविज्म यहीं पे तो आता है ना। तो दैट्स व्हाई सेइंग कि हम ये चीज डीएसटी में भी बात हुआ था मेरे एक बार एक सीनियर ऑफिसर से, कि आप कहते हो कि एक चीज ऑर्गेनाइजेशन आपकी फंडिंग यूज नहीं कर रही, राइट। अब एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को आप फंडिंग दे रहे हो, अब वो फंडिंग उस पर्पज पे बच जाता है, सरप्लस हो जाता है, वो उसको किसी और पर्पज के लिए यूज कर लेता है, दैट इज आल्सो टुवर्ड्स द बेनिफिट ऑफ द सोसाइटी। तो मेरे को क्या लगता है उसमें कोई गलती है ही नहीं, until unless कि वो उस पैसे को निकाल के अपने पर्सनल पर्पस के लिए यूज डेवलप करता है। जैसे इट मींस कि वहां पे प्रॉब्लम कहाँ पे है? मॉनिटरिंग में, कि आप मॉनिटरिंग नहीं कर पा रहे कि आपका फंड जो गया एक्चुअल पैसे पे लगा कि नहीं, आपके चेक्स इतने स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं है कि आप उसको असरटेन नहीं कर पा रहे कि वो गलत यूज हुआ है तो उसको क्या सजा होनी चाहिए, आप उसको लीगल जो उस दायरे में नहीं ला पा रहे। तो इट मींस कि वो प्रॉब्लम किसकी हुई? फंडिंग बॉडी की हुई ना कि आप कंट्रोल एक्सरसाइज नहीं कर पा रहे, बट इट इज नॉट द कि अगर 10 में से 9 सुनो उससे 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 उसमें 2 एनजीओ जो है, मेरा ये है 10 में से अगर 2 एनजीओ सही कर रही हैं, आप कहते हो कि हम 2 को भी फंड नहीं करेंगे, और जो सही थोड़ा बहुत काम हो रहा है वो भी ठप हो जाएगा। पॉइंट है कि कुछ भी नहीं होगा, फिर जो आवाज उठती है वो भी नहीं उठेगी। इंस्टेड कि हमें देखना है कि सिस्टम थ्योरी क्या कहती है। सिस्टम थ्योरी यही कहती है कि आपको ये देखना है कि एक हर चीज को सिस्टमाइज करो और उसके सारे इनपुट आउटपुट एंड उसके जो कंट्रोल मेजर्स हैं उनको हम राइटली इन प्लेस करें और रीइंफोर्स करें कि ताकि वो उसमें चांसेस ऑफ जो है इधर उधर के कम से कम हो। जैसे कॉर्पोरेट सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी की बात कर रहे थे कि उनको वो डायरेक्टर रिपोर्ट में मेंशन करना है क्या काम करोगे, आपको पैसा कहाँ पे यूज हुआ है, इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर होगा, कोई पॉलिटिशियन की एनजीओज नहीं होंगी, अगर होंगी तो जो काम करेंगी वही होंगी। आरटीआई एक्टिविस्ट के दायरे में आया, आरटीआई एक्टिविस्ट निकालेगा किस एनजीओ को काम किया, क्या इंपैक्ट उसका आया, एक्चुअली कहाँ काम पैसा लगा, जैसे तो उसमें ये सारी चीजें इंटरलिंक्ड है। कोई भी चीज सिंगल आपके या मेरे कहने से नहीं होगी। अगर एक स्कूल वाला ऐसा कर रहा है, 2 कर रहा है, 3 कर रहा है, 4 कर रहा है, इट मीन्स उनकी एक एक्सेप्टेबिलिटी बन चुकी है तभी वो कर रहा है। तो इट मीन्स उनको रिवोल्ट या चैलेंज नहीं आया था, किसी ने नहीं किया था। जब एक चीज हद से ऊपर जाती है फिर करते ही चैलेंज।
मैं फिगर्स के साथ श्योर नहीं हूँ, आप फिगर्स के साथ श्योर नहीं हो।
आपके एनजीओ की बात है सर, आप बहुत कमेंडेबल काम कर रहे हैं और कमेंडेबल इन द सेंस यू हैव गॉन अ स्टेप फॉरवर्ड बाय मेजरिंग द सोशल इम्पैक्ट। सोशल इम्पैक्ट मेजर करने के बाद आप अपने रिजल्ट दिखा सकते हो। बहुत सारे ऐसे कि हमने ट्रेन कर दिया, उनका सोशल इम्पैक्ट नहीं दिखता, वहां बंगलिंग होने की संभावना वैसे भी ज्यादा रहती है। आपके केस में जैसे आपने बताया कि आप प्लेस्ड 300 odd handicapped school candidates, this is commendable. How many organizations are doing such kind of?
That is true. उसी के लिए सर, for that thing what I am doing, 18th यहाँ अब नीटर 15th गोल्डन जुबली सेलिब्रेट कर रहा है। So I have this task of organizing a job fair. So what I said to sir कि हम job fair नहीं organize करेंगे. We'll arrange in a platform and a forum for NGOs where we'll make NGOs to work on a perspective of making a social impact. Why? To analyze कि उनके पास क्या shortcomings हैं। अभी 6 NGOs हैं nearby. I tell you one thing, मेरे पास सर 30 computers किसी ने donate किए। अब मैं उस computers को रख के क्या करूँ? मैंने 6 NGOs आइडेंटिफाई किए, उनको कंप्यूटर का करिकुलम दिया और उनको 4-4, 5-5 कंप्यूटर्स दे दिए। महीने में 15 दिन में एक बार मेरा ट्रेनर जाता है और एक दिन में एक बार मेरा मोबिलाइजर जाता है जो चेक करता है कि बच्चे हैं ट्रेंड हो रहे हैं कि नहीं है। फिर हमारे जो एम्प्लॉयमेंट टीम है वो उन बच्चों की एम्प्लॉयमेंट देखती है। सो दिस इज व्हाट आई एम, जो आप कह रहे हैं एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट। एंड इसी के बेसिस पे रिसेंटली आई एम नॉट टू श्योर, शायद 90,000 एनजीओ को बैन किया एंड ब्लैकलिस्ट किया फ्रॉम द गवर्नमेंट फंडिंग एजेंसी। बट मैटर ऑफ द फैक्ट एक और चीज है ना सर कि या तो आप उनको बताते नहीं है पकड़ के भी नहीं, जब छोटे होते बच्चे होते हैं आप मारते हैं कि बेटा गलत, तूने गलत किया, ठीक है। जब तक आप वो उस चीज को नहीं करेंगे तब तक आप कंपनीज, आई टेल यू वन थिंग व्हाई, बिकॉज कंपनीज, अगर आप कोई एक बिजनेस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, ही फेल्स टू प्रोड्यूस द सेल टैक्स और वैट और एनीथिंग, ही गेट पेनलाइज्ड, पेनल्टी पड़ती है। बट इफ समथिंग इज, जो हमने सीएसआर में बात की थी, अगर ऐसा एनजीओ नहीं करता है तो ही नेवर गेट पेनलाइज्ड। सिर्फ दैट इज होना चाहिए ना, वही। हाँ जी। नहीं सर, मैं आपके जनरलाइज वे में बात कर रहा हूँ।
वो बहुत एकदम संत बैठा है, ऐसा भी नहीं है। नहीं, वो देखा था ना हाईवे अथॉरिटी वाले में क्या हुआ था, धुएं का क्या किया। वही एक एग्जांपल मैंने ऐसा बताया जो नेशनल लेवल पर आ गया था। रोज अदरवाइज ऐसे एग्जांपल होते हैं, कितने आरटीए एक्टिविस्ट हैं उनको लोग मार रहे हैं, इंडिविजुअल कुछ नहीं करते। हाँ, मतलब हर एक में हिम्मत नहीं होती है। बहुत सारे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ऐसे जो ट्रेन करते हैं। हाँ जी, लेकिन ट्रेन करना दैट इज ऑब्जेक्टिव तो ये है कि क्या फुल एम्प्लॉयमेंट मिला उनको। यस, ट्रेन करके आपने छोड़ते हैं।
एब्सोल्युटली सर, यू एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट। हां, दैट इज द थिंग। आप जो कर रहे हो एंड तक जो लेकर जा रहे हो वो बहुत कम है। दैट आई एम थैंक। यही बात बाकी एनजीओ पर भी एक हो जाए कि अल्टीमेटली यू मस्ट अचीव द ऑब्जेक्टिव। मैं वही कह रहा था सर, रोपड़ में एक एनजीओ है, एक लेडी है, वो गवर्नमेंट टीचर है, तो वो एक डेफ स्कूल चलाती है, कोई फंडिंग नहीं है उनके पास, कुछ नहीं है, ठीक है। एंड हम भी कोई प्रॉफिट मेकिंग तो है नहीं, तो वी डोंट हैव एनी सरप्लस फंड, बट हाँ कुछ आता है कि कुछ इन काइंड ऑफ जो काइंड में हमारे पास डोनेशन आते हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल कंप्यूटर्स आ गए, कुछ आ गए। सो ऐसे करके जब मैंने उस एनजीओ को देखा, दे हैव अराउंड 150 हियरिंग इम्पेयर्ड। तो व्हाट आई हैव डन इट कि मैंने कहा मैम देखिए अगर मेरे पास कभी फंड या उसकी ऑप्शन हुई देन आई हेल्प यू आउट। जैसे अभी रिसेंटली सीआई की एक मीटिंग हुई थी जिसमें फंडिंग की, आई इनवाइटेड देम कि आप आइए अपना केस प्रेजेंट कीजिए। बट टिल द टाइम व्हाट आई डिड इट कि मैंने उनसे हर महीने के 15 बच्चों के डिटेल्स लेनी शुरू कर दी कि आप मुझे अपने एनजीओ के 15 जो ट्रेंड हो चुके हैं बच्चे, जो +2 पास हो चुके हैं या ट्रेंड हो चुके हैं, आप दीजिए, मैं उनकी प्लेसमेंट पे काम करता हूँ, ठीक है। दिस विल बी इन अ विन विन सिचुएशन, ठीक है, कि मेरे एम्प्लॉयर्स की जो लिस्ट है, जैसे वी आर वर्किंग विद अराउंड 250 एम्प्लॉयर्स अक्रॉस इंडिया, तो मेरे उन एम्प्लॉयर्स की जो रिक्वायरमेंट, आई एम एबल टू फुलफिल दैट रिक्वायरमेंट, एंड प्लस इट इज आल्सो गिविंग अ विन सिचुएशन टू दैट एनजीओ बिकॉज उस एनजीओ के बच्चे प्लेस हो रहे हैं। So this what we needs to do, we need to do a hand holding for the NGOs, right, जो नहीं कर रहे हैं, और एटलीस्ट जिनके अंदर आत्मा बची है कि हम कर सकते हैं, करना चाहते हैं। जो बिल्कुल ही वो है, वो कहते हैं ना सर उनका हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते, बट उसी के लिए व्हाट वी हैव ट्राइड इट के इज नॉट ओनली फोकस्ड ऑन वन एरिया कि मुझे सिर्फ पर्सन विद डिसेबिलिटी के लिए देखना है, बट आई नीड टू फोकस ऑन अ वाइडर पर्सपेक्टिव ऑफ सोशल इम्पैक्ट। रिसेंटली आज सुबह मैं बात कर रहा था दैट वी वांट टू स्टार्ट एन इनिशिएटिव जिसमें हम इनिशियली हिमाचल से शुरू करेंगे, तो हरियाणा, पंजाब, जम्मू कश्मीर और दिल्ली, इनके ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को सेम इन दिस मोड ओनली विल आस्क देम टू डू द नॉलेज शेयरिंग जस्ट टू नो कि व्हाट दे आर डूइंग एंड हाउ वी कैन गेट कनेक्टेड टू इट, राइट। अब मैं आपको बताता हूँ राजस्थान की 150 ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है सर मेरे पास, जिसके साथ मैं काम करने की अब स्टार्ट कर रहा हूँ। आई नीड टू आइडेंटिफाई देम, आई गॉट अ लिस्ट। सो ये एक जरूरी है कि कंबाइंड इफेक्ट और कंबाइंड सपोर्ट सबकी होनी बहुत जरूरी है, क्योंकि हर जगह तो हम हो नहीं सकते ना सर, और वो सोच भी सब में होनी जरूरी है कि हमें जुड़ना है, जुड़ के काम करना है। तो हाँ मैं कहता हूँ सर देखिए सर No sir, it's not human. नहीं मैं मानता ही नहीं सर, मैं मानता ही नहीं, नहीं मैं मानता ही नहीं सर।
आप बच्चे को शुरू से ही जैसा सिखाओगे वैसा बच्चे को जैसे हमने लर्निंग दिया है ब्रेनिंग में वैसा ही आपने ये कहा कि नहीं, अगर मैं बहुत बार ऐसे क्वेश्चन हुआ, आई हैव ड्रोव माय पाइप फॉर 80,000 किलोमीटर्स, तो रास्ते में कई एक्सीडेंट हुए और मैंने उठाए। हम हमेशा हमारे पेरेंट्स भी ये सिखा देते हैं कि रास्ते में एक्सीडेंट हो तो नहीं उठाना। आजकल रेडियो में ये एडवर्टाइजमेंट है, रेलवेज में ये एडवर्टाइजमेंट है, बट आपको 2 मिनट आपको सर इसमें ये बताना है, बच्चों को ये सिखाना है हाउ यू हैव टू आइडेंटिफाई दैट वेदर द पर्सन इन फ्रंट ऑफ यू इज इन अ जेन्युइन नीड और नॉट। हम ये प्रमोट करने की बजाय कि आप रोड पे जा रहे हो, आपको ये देखना है विद इन 30 सेकंड कि ये बंदा आपको हर्ट कर सकता है कि नहीं, ये जेन्युइन नीड में है कि नहीं, वो सिखाने के बजाय हमने सीधा ये सिखा दिया आपने खड़े नहीं होना पास में।
सर एक ना
तो वो क्या था कि सन राइजेस इन द ईस्ट, सन सेट्स इन द वेस्ट, सबको ये सिखा दिया गया, जबकि रियलिटी तो ये सन नीदर राइजेस नॉर सेट्स। The direction in which the sun rises we call it the east, the direction in which we see the sun going in the west. So वो बचपन से अपने बच्चों को वही सिखा दिया। अब ट्रेन में है, ट्रेन में मेरे पास एक I was frequent traveler, तो एक यंगस्टर आए, उन्होंने मेरे को कहा कि हमें सीट चेंज करनी है। मैंने उनसे पूछा हाँ क्या करनी है, सीट चेंज दिखाओ, क्या रीजन क्या है। उन्होंने रीजन दिया कि हमारे 2 फ्रेंड्स उधर हैं, हम 2 फ्रेंड्स इधर हैं, हमें इकट्ठा होना है। जब मैंने चेंज करने के लिए एग्री किया तो उन्होंने देखा कि वो ऑलरेडी एक इंटरचेंज कर चुके थे, अब सेकंड इंटरचेंज था। मैंने उनको मना कर दिया, मैंने कहा इफ यू हैव अ वैलिड रीजन, इफ यू हैव अ ओल्ड पर्सन विद यू, इफ समबडी इज इल, कोई वैलिड रीजन है तो मैं विलिंगली चेंज कर लूंगा, अदरवाइज आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू चेंज माय सेल्फ। ठीक, वहां पे जो फेवर ले रहा है वो भी गलत कर रहा है, ठीक, गलत सेंस में, ठीक, और जो दे रहा है वो भी गलत कर रहा है। हमें आइडेंटिफाई नहीं करते, हम आइडेंटिफिकेशन, वी डू नॉट इंक्वायर, द सेंस ऑफ इंक्वायरी इज नॉट देयर, हमने वो सिखाया नहीं। अब मैं रात को 1:30 बजे भी आता हूँ, मैं लिफ्ट देता हूँ, बट आई हैव टू आइडेंटिफाई कि अप टू व्हाट लेवल दे कैन हर्ट मी, ये बंदा ठीक है कि नहीं, इसको कैसे टैकल करना है। इस आपको वो चीजें लर्न करनी है, और वो कैसे आएगा? इंटरेक्शन से। और जब हम इंटरेक्शन से लोगों को, बच्चों को दूर भेज रहे हैं, इट मींस हम उनको सोसाइटी में एडजस्ट होने वाली स्किल्स नहीं दे रहे, सोशल स्किल्स नहीं दे रहे। तो यही एक चीजें हैं हमें।
मैं वही आपको कहना चाह रहा हूँ, देखिए ह्यूमन बीइंग हैज ब्रेन, और जब ब्रेन होगा तो ब्रेन जो है क्या ऑलवेज अपने फायदे की बात करता है। ब्रेन जब चलेगा तो फायदे की बात करेगा। अब आपको ट्रेन करना है उसे कि क्या आपका नहीं है, क्या आपके लिए सही है, क्या आपके लिए गलत है।
हाँ, अगर सर आप अपने बच्चे को यही सिखाएंगे ना कि इंडिया में सिस्टम्स करप्ट है, स्कूल ऐसे हैं, तो कल को जब वो भी स्कूल चलाएगा तो वो ऐसा एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर ही बनेगा। वैल्यू सिस्टम तो वही से आएगा ना। ज्यादा दो चीजें हैं, इधर ही विल चैलेंज द स्टेटस को, वन थिंग इज दैट, और ही विल बिकम लाइक दैट। फॉर एग्जाम्पल स्ट्रगलर, एक गवर्नमेंट जॉब में बंदा बहुत स्ट्रगल करके आ सकता है। अब वो दो काम कर सकता है, एक उसको पता है मैं स्ट्रगल करके आया हूँ, मैं पैसा कमाऊं, आई बिकम अ करप्ट, आई नो किस चीज से कैसे पैसा कमाना। सेकंड इज ही चैलेंज द स्टेटस को कि नहीं, आई हैव गॉट दिस विद सो मच ऑफ हार्डशिप एंड आई हैव टू वर्क टुवर्ड्स द पॉजिटिविटी ऑफ द सिस्टम, दैट्स इट। और वो कहां पे आता है? आपके थिंकिंग लेवल से। थिंकिंग कैसे डेवलप होता है? इट इज नाउअडेज इट इज अ एक्सपीरियंस वी शेयर, द काइंड ऑफ ग्रुपिंग्स वी हैव, जो हमें घर में सुनने को मिलता है, जो हमें टीचर्स से सुनने को मिलता है, जो हमारे दोस्तों से सुनने को मिलता है। अगर आई एम सॉरी टू से, अगर हम सबकी यही थिंकिंग रहेगी, हम ऐसे ही सोचते रहेंगे, तो इंडिया विल बी नंबर 1 इन करप्शन। but that can't be generalized that Amardev will be corrupt. I will not be. That's it. तो चाहे आप 1000 लोग कर दो, मैंने अपने आप को
करप्शन का डाटा देखा आपने?
जैसे नहीं, डाटा एक अलग चीज है। इट मींस देयर इज सम प्रॉब्लम विद द सिस्टम, एंड सिस्टम जो बनता है वो हमसे ही बनता है। वी पीपल मेक इट, वी आर द पार्ट ऑफ इट, वी एक्सेप्ट इट, वी ऑथेंटिकेट इट। तो हमें मतलब वी कांट ना, मैंने किसी को ये नहीं कहता कोई पर्सन ये कर रहा है तो ये गलत कर रहा है। आई सेड you are doing it right in your perspective, but I am doing right in my perspective. So that is the individual perspective we would say. जब प्रॉब्लम आनी शुरू होगी सब फिर एकजुट होंगे, चाहे वो बुरे के लिए हो चाहे अच्छे के लिए हो।
Actually things are changing also. Basically, if you see, ये गवर्नमेंट के जितने ई-सब वर्क है, they are working really. They are in government. They are working. जो उनका टाइम होता है, जो टाइम एक्चुअली एंड में होता है 9 to 8, they work hard.
नहीं, ऐसे परसेप्शन सर किसी की चेंज नहीं कर सकते। अब इंडस्ट्री को सबको ये लगता है कि नाउअडेज गवर्नमेंट टीचर्स डू नॉट वर्क। सबका परसेप्शन ये होता है कि आपको लगता है ऐसा है। Seeing at your workplaces, you see, हाँ वही में, हाँ वो स्टेक होल्डर्स के कारण। अब अगर आप यहाँ पे आओगे, it doesn't work that way. You do not work in your organization that way.
As per people's perception, they are not working.
That's it. But you are working. आपने अपने खुद बताया था कि मैंने परचेज के काम करता हूँ, ऐसा मैनेज करता हूँ, सब कुछ मैनेज करता हूँ। तो पॉइंट ओवर नहीं फिर ऐसे करप्ट होंगे। We can't accept that generalized statement कि all government teachers are corrupt or government people do not work.
all white मैंने कभी यूज
नहीं, आपने 90% कहा।
आपने कहा था जनरलाइज, आपने कहा जनरलाइज करना, तो बाकी में क्या रह गया? So sir, sometimes we need to watch what we say, how we say, and to whom to we say. But anyways, let's get back to the quantitative argument, sir. है ना? I think कुछ नींद आ रही थी तो शायद निकल गई होगी। Now coming back to coming back.
Something come out and we learn.
Sir, it all depends, right? That what has come out from the discussion and to take out of it. So we go back to the where we left, Sarthak Education Trust, NGO that is based in Delhi. Bikaji Kama Place is a place where it is. It was started by Dr. Jitendra Agarwal. Now, Dr. Agarwal was a dentist who lost his vision in 2003. So macular degeneration की वजह से उनकी eyesight चलेगी, and then he realizes, that how difficult is a life for a person with disability. So he, initially went to the south. वहाँ से उन्होंने computer की training ली, and he came back and he started, thinking that, there are so many organizations, like you said, sir, that, they only work for training. But, getting candidates trained and just leaving them with something like getting an army trained within a best facility and sending them to a border with no arms and ammunition. कि भाई हमने आपको सिर्फ ट्रेनिंग दी है, बाकी आर्म्स एंड एम्युनिशन हम नहीं दे सकते, आप चले जाओ. So in order to change that perspective, and especially for a segment of society which has always been, and most of the time, been neglected and suppressed, is a person with disability, he sold his dental equipment and a dental chair and started Sarthak Education Trust in 2008. And the sole motive for Sarthak Education Trust is to, enhance the skill of person with disability and getting them employed. So we are working with across 200 corporates across India. And what are the values that we work? We work on the values of share. Now the S stands for social justice. The
Sarthak does not have much to do with Tech Mahindra. There are a number of organizations which you are doing.
Yes.
They are funding.
Sir, actually Tech Mahindra is funding for our 3 projects. That is the Chandigarh one, Delhi one, and Gurgaon one. Then we have NSDC. NSDC is funding our Ludhiana project, Jaipur project, and Lucknow project. Then we have Capgemini. Capgemini is funding our Mumbai project, Pune project, and Hyderabad project. And apart from that, we are working in sector of health as well, where we have early intervention, which is early detection of the disability, and we working on the sector of inclusive education. तो वो जो segment of the society, the disabled segment जो left out हो जाता है in government schools like this. So we provide them remedial classes free of cost. So we have adopted 20 government schools, and we also do the sensitization. So these are the 3 major, active vertical areas that we're working in. And the last one, that we have trained 3,050 persons with disability. And we have placed, now it's going to be more, 6,100 persons with disability across India. Now there's a difference between the training and between the employment, because we believe in giving justice to the candidate. Supposingly a candidate is already being graduated or post-graduated, right, who has already achieved a skill, for example, any skill. So we don't find it justice to ask that candidate to come back to the training program and do our 90 days course and then we'll place you. But we directly place them. It's like building a bridge between the employers and the employees. We have organized 90 job fairs, roundtable conferences, regional summits, mini job fairs, sensitization workshop. So roundtable conferences is a platform where we ask the corporates, those who are already hiring, and the corporates who are willing to hire but hesitating. So it's in a roundtable discussion, right, where the corporates from ITS, BPO sector, retail, hospitality, and manufacturing sector share their ideas to sensitize the other corporates so that more and more can be included for the hiring of persons with disability. We are also working in the capacity of, developing the capacity of NGOs. We have done this program in Telangana, where we are associated with around 60 NGOs. We want to, cater a platform where we can share their common challenges. We can share the kind of resources we have, and we can share our ideas so that, everybody can get united and work on the field. Because sir, एक करेगा तो शायद थोड़ा time लगेगा, अगर मिलके करेंगे तो बहुत जल्दी हो जाएगा. That is the thing. Yes, sir. Definitely. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely. This is what we need to do, no, sir. Because shayad, I'm sitting in a Chandigarh. I might be open to resources. I have resources. I'm utilizing it. But there's an NGO who's is in a last suburb area who doesn't have knowledge but still working. This is what I said. No? When I went to Ropad and to other places where I'm working with an NGOs, they are working, but they have their limitations. Why? Because they don't have much funds. They don't have much capacity. They don't know the real development. See that till the time I went to this NGO, they didn't even know कि person with disability को हम employ भी कर सकते हैं. They were like कि हमें लगा कि हम सिर्फ train ही कर सकते हैं and we are struggling in terms of employment. So this is what we need to do. When we talk about the structuring of a social enterprise, the first thing is a mission. So mission for Sarthak is to achieve this vision of empowerment of persons with disability and to establish the Sarthak Adarsh Kendra skill building centers and early intervention centers across nation. There are 26.8 million people are disabled in India as per the census. So if we talk about working for the disability, there are very few NGOs they are working, but we need to work really hard on this thing. And why we started with this early intervention project? Because see, when we started within a skill building and a vocational training, right? As like other NGOs, the only adding things we have is an employment. But when we did the impact analysis of it, right, this is a never-ending process. No matter what you do for ages and for ages, you will be doing it. Why? Because you're not catering the root cause of the problem. कि disability generate कहाँ से होती है? So since then, in 2014, we analyzed that we need to go back to the root cause of the thing, so that down the line there might be a chance कि हमारे जैसे NGOs की जरूरत ही ना पड़े, because there is no disability. So it's the same model, polio हटाओ देश बचाओ. So we worked on that model कि हमें disability हटानी है. So we started, and tell you sir, we don't have a funding for this early intervention project. We're still struggling to find the funds because it is very hard to convince people to get this thing done. We're still doing it since 2 years. We taking these activities.
What is the fund being put in by
Tech Mahindra only put funds in vocational trainings.
what is the amount?
I am so sorry, sir. It's not a platform to discuss this.
When did they come in? 2014?
Tech Mahindra is associated with us since 2011.
What is the main reasons of disability?
Yes.
What?
Sir, I tell you, there was a case. What happened? What was an alarming situation for us in Delhi? A lady was a diabetic, and she was expecting. And this is that when a lady, if a woman is diabetic and she delivers a baby, that baby needs to get injected with an insulin within a certain period of time. And as the doctor was not aware of it and he was not sensitized enough towards it, so that baby died after 4 days. So this happens on a regular basis. So when we started this early intervention project, what we do in early intervention project, that expecting mothers, the doctors, Anganwadi workers, and NICU centers, the incubation centers, the newborn babies where the newborn babies are kept, we work on these centers. We identify, and scientifically, if a disability is identified in an early stage, it can be minimized to a great extent to the therapies. And then we work on this, and then we do therapies. But rather than working in a social enterprise, it's totally in a corporate culture. We have targets for everything. We have deadlines to meet it. We have our quarterly meeting to analyze that what we have achieved, what we want to do. We need to keep up the pace. Why? It looks very easy, but if you work if you work in a social enterprise, then very first thing, you are answerable to the funding partners. Right, you are answering to your immediate bosses or a line manager. You are answerable to the government, and top of that, you are answerable to the society. So these are the 4 line of answers that we need to give in a social organization. So working in a social organization is much hectic than working in any other part. Why? Because in any other organization, you are just answerable to your line manager, right? But in an organization, anybody can walk in that and tell you that this is what has been done, this is what is a negative impact, and this is what we are open. We are not like that, sir, you have faced it, कि आपको कभी मिलना हो and nobody can meet it. You can meet our CEO anytime. We have our board of members description on and the details on our website. You can contact anyone and you can talk to the people, and the board of members that we are carrying is not Yes, it's I don't know how many of you heard about Dr. M.B. Atre? M.B. Atre. He's a management guru of India. He went to Harvard in 1960 and brought this management culture. M.B. Atre, Dr. M.B. Atre. He's one of the senior board members we have. He's a mentor for Sarthak. He's associated since 2008. People pay lakhs of rupees to get his consultation, and we need to report twice a year to him. Then he decided that, which of the center is going on a right track, what are the things that is. I'll be discussing some of the planning management's, models that has been developed by him, and we follow in our organization in coming slide.
If a person is maybe born with disability, and if one becomes disabled afterwards, what are the chances of recovery?
See, yes, it all depends, sir. I mean, if it is by an accident after disability, after the birth, if it's by an accident, something which can't be repaired, then it can be minimized through the assistive devices, right? But initially, if the baby is born and disability is detected, then it can be minimized through the therapies, like speech therapy, vision therapy, and there are other therapies that are involved in it. तो वो डिसेबिलिटी आइडेंटिफाई करके उस थेरेपी से हम उसको मिनिमाइज कर सकते हैं. Sir, I don't have a real figure, exact proportion to say it because updated, but it is quite high. Who are born with disability? Why? Yes. Why it's on the higher side? Sir, if we go back to our ancestral, जो हम अपने पुराण वगैरह देखे और अपनी हिंदू mythology और whatever books जो हम देखे, तो उसमें एक बहुत अच्छा perception होता है to get married at the age of 26. वो कहते हैं 21 से 22 साल के तक आप विभोग करो और 25 साल तक करो, 25 से 27 के बीच में आप शादी कर लो, and उसके बाद you start in a family. And there was very emphasis paid on the the kind of eating habits and the work culture that we have. Now, what is happening? We are being career conscious, so there are late marriages are happening. This is one of the biggest reason for the disability. We are not focused. There are so many hybrid food and that adulterated food has been come up. It's another major chances of the disability that has been happening. And plus, there are, thanks to the industrialization and without the mentoring, without the empowerment, there are disabilities which has been happening. So technically, sir, अगर हम देखें तो by the time if you are 25 and you get married, and by the time you have a family, if you plan a family after 2 years, so you are 27. Same likewise, your wife is going to be 27, 28 or 26. So the chances of getting a disability is minimum. And rest, another thing, sir, by the time your child gets to an age of 20, you are 47. So that is another initial stage of adapting and managing. But you get married at age now, people getting married at age of 32, 33, 31. By the time you have your family is 35. And by the time your son or daughter gets an age of 20, you are 55 plus. Huh. Exactly. Exactly.
You mean to say that a person born with disability is on the higher side?
Yes, it's on a higher side. Then we talk about the vision. The Sarthak vision is to empower person with disability, enabling them to live their life with dignity and respect. Next thing we'll discuss, it's a model that shows the activities of Sarthak Educational Trust. We catering 3 disabilities: orthopedically challenged, hearing impaired, and visually impaired. And that too within a range from 0 to 32. So minimum is 0, is the newborn, and the maximum is 32. And the reason why I keep it at 32, because to put someone in employment, basically 32 is the age where corporates still take it, but after 32 they hesitate. And for us, it's we feel it really in a burden if you enroll someone and you can't take it to a level of employment. So we keep this barcode of 0 to 32. There are some centers in our one of the 9 centers who have the bottom line of 10th as well. That they need to be minimum 10th. But we're trying to get that level to 5th, 4th, or 3rd. Why? Because there are a lot of a big range of people who are below that age. So we need to open new employment opportunities for them, or self-employment opportunities for them, so that they can be developed. So this is the impact analysis. So for if we grouped these the age group of these 3 disabilities from 0 to 5 years, we have a project of early intervention, in which we do the sensitization of the doctors, we do the sensitization of the nurses, we do the sensitization of the Anganwadi workers and the expecting mothers, plus visiting the NICU centers, which if the hospital allows us, and then identifying if that child is with a disability or needs any Medicare or not. So these are the activities done for the age group of 0 to 5 years. Our main motive is to eradicate disability or not, at least minimize it. The second, between the age of 5 to 18. Now this is the age group where a child or a candidate goes to a school. Now when we take the we did an impact analysis of the candidate who are graduate or a 12th pass within a disability, and to the candidate who are without a disability. So there wasn't a huge gap between the understanding and the level of their aptitude. And what we found it, especially when we take a case of hearing impaired, so we talk about working in inclusive education, but if a teacher is not aware of a sign language, then that inclusion is a barrier. We're not working towards the development. So what we did is to we take hold of 20 government schools in Delhi, and we identified that how many are the special child or special requirement that the child has, and we do the remedial classes, we do the sensitization workshop for the teachers, and for that we have also developed a resource center to work on it. Now the age group come between 18 to 32. It's the age group which we cater for the development or a vocational training and employment. The very first reason, you can't employ anyone below 18. Yes, you can employ above 16, but that is on a stipend basis for a learning. It's not the employment. But when you talk about the employment, it has to be 18. So we divide these candidates in 2 categories: ones who are already got in a training or already achieved in a level, and second who doesn't require a training. And then we do our procedural thing of training and employment. So when we combined all these activities, it leads to a vision, the social impact that we want to do, to empower persons with disability and enabling them to live their life with dignity and respect. So these are the major activities that we have. Now we talk about the impact analysis, right? I mean, this is the my favorite thing, because I'm not from a social background. So I work more on this. The very first project that we have is on early intervention. So for that impact analysis, since 2014, every quarterly and 6 monthly and yearly, we see and compare the total number of database has been created. How many child with a special need or prone to disability has been registered with us. If it has not been increased, that means my mobilizer is not working. I need to reshuffle and revisit and replan his activity. The second thing is total number of therapies is given. The reason of looking at it is to understand, if the number of therapies has not been increased, that means the facilitation team is not working. They're not rightly projecting or rightly convincing the candidate, and there's no impact of the project. The same way, number of doctor workshop and the number of sensitization workshop we have done. So these are the impact analysis for early intervention. When it comes to the inclusive education, it's in the same way, but in a different vertical, to understand how many schools have been covered and how many children with a special need has been registered with us. Is there an increase in the number of remedial classes? And after that middle classes, is there any development is happening in the child or not? We take feedback from the parents, we take feedback from the teachers. The whether if we are, it shouldn't be in a one-way process of delivering it. The next one is a sensitization workshop for parents and teachers. We do it's on a regular basis because you sensitize someone, it there is for 1 week or 2 weeks, but वो अपने system में दोबारा आते हैं, तो that all flows out. So we need to do this on a regular basis. Keep motivating them, keep asking them to work towards this, keep asking them for a suggestion. The third is a training and employment. See, every center has a target of mobilizing 600 persons with disability every year. And out of that, we have a target of training 350. हमें 350 करने ही है trained. That comes down to be 85 per quarter minimum. And out of that 350, we have a target of placing more than 70%. But I'm proudly and happily say that in Chandigarh we have done 92%. But now the thing has come up. Is placing is the only thing? No. So the last one, the total number of retained at the job, this is the real result. सब किसी को employment देना मुश्किल नहीं है, whether it is a disabled or a non-disabled. But वो उस job में retained करता है, वो हमारा impact और हमारा cause का success rate बताता है. So if I talk about I'm placing 92%, it's not big deal. Companies or organizations, they are in a need of manpower. But what is the main need is to understand that how many have been retained. So for this, we started another thing is to do a follow-up for next 6 months after his placement. For example, a child is or a candidate is placed today. So we do a follow-up for next 6 months to understand, is there any challenges from an employer? Is there any challenges from an employee? Because we need to create a win-win situation and to a business model rather than going on a charity basis, on a mercy basis that, we from an NGO, we do this, like, please hire us, please do it. Though another important aspect of, working for an organization, that you need funds. You need funds to run your activities. You need to pay the salaries. You need to pay the bills. We know everybody is not like, lucky enough to have this facility in Nitter. Nitter has been kind enough to support us in providing us the space. They don't charge us for the space. They don't charge us for the electricity. They provide us the IT support. But yes, they do keep a check on us as well. There are so many surprise visits that happens. We have to submit the report that what we are doing, what we have done. So that is the reason since 2014 we are here and extending our MUs every year. But what are the other activities for the fundraising? The first thing is individual funding. That has been motivated by the activity cause or a diversion towards the cause. Second is a CSR funding that has been available widely. The third is a government funding. The government running so many projects nowadays in terms of supporting your working or your cause. The fourth one that has been come as a cloud funding or a national or an international level. Now they have, there's a cause, there's a scenario of funding a cause. They don't fund an organization. They fund for a cause. But who's working for livelihood? They have a fund for livelihood. How many are working for the education? So there's going to be separate funding for education, a particular organization. And the next point is the fundraising activities.
What about
Sorry?
cloud funding?
Cloud funding is, sir, you don't get a fund for a single organization. It is for a cause, and they select and do the fundings for the organization who are working for that cause. So it is an umbrella that they create, and under that they do it. So you need to be in a process of delivering your impact and convincing them to get into that umbrella to get the funding. For example, if I say company X has decided he needs to fund for education, and Sarthak is working for education, so he won't fund Sarthak, but he will look for the group of organization that are working together for an area. In that area where he needs to invest the fund, then he'll be funding. Rather than like other funding, corporate funding is on basis of the individual. You get a funding for the organization. And plus then they look up the thing. The government funding is also for the organization they have under the scheme, but cloud funding is not for the organization. It is something like you say, we have FICCI, PhD, CII chambers that has an confederation of NGO, confederation of industries, right? It is the same process. Then we see the planning and management of a social enterprise. See, for any planning and management, we need to have an effective plan. And in order to make an effective plan, we work on two models. The first one is PICL model, and the second one is a cash model, KASH. And combining all of two, it makes an effective plan, which helps in planning and management of a social enterprise. So the first one of the PICL stands for planning, implementation, control, and learn. Now this making a plan is something the biggest challenge I've faced in India. Comparing my working when I was there abroad for like 7-8 years and visiting all these countries, 26 countries I guess almost, and then I compare that culture, that why we lacking. We have got some of the very best resources, we are one of the best brainies in the world, but still we lacking. Why? Because there's a challenge. So we work on 80 and 20 ratio. The 20% is on the planning and 80% on the implementation. But we need to reverse it. We need to work on 80% of the planning and then the 20% of the implementation. And if we start working on that in that perspective, revising our plan on a regular basis, reinvesting in our strategies, then it will do wonders. The second thing is implementation. See, everybody has, or every organization has their own, positive or the drawbacks that can be, affected by the people working in it, the area you working in it, or the kind of cause that you are working on. So if we choose a single model of implementing, for example, if I compare the two centers, my center in Chandigarh and my center in Mumbai. In Chandigarh, we run on a 90 days of course, but in Mumbai, it is not. We can't do a 90 days of course in Mumbai because they find it that it's in a long gap. 90 दिन के बाद हमें job मिलेगी, 90 दिन के, who has a time? Mumbai people doesn't have a time. So what we did, we reinvested on the implementation process and we shorten it to a 1 week process. It's just a brooming thing that we do within a requirement, and then we place them. So second thing we need to understand is on the implementation as well, that what is in a process that we are following in terms of implementing, and whether that process of implementing is being really affected and delivering the project. The third thing is the control. Till the time you don't put control, you not putting accountability. Like there was in a discussion when Professor Amardev said the accountability is missing. Till the time you don't have a control on that, it won't flourish. Till the time you don't keep on a check whether on a quarterly regularly basis being done or it has been accomplished or not. For me especially, the 6 centers I'm doing it, I have made the the total target on the basis of a daily target. And we just control on the daily basis. There's a G Drive facility uploaded in Excel. They need to update it every day between 5 to 5:30. And I just check that Excel and the activities, that I'll get an idea whether in the mobilization team work has been done or not. If they are not doing it, what are the things? Are they following the verticals of mobilization or not? If the training is not happening on time, are the events are being done on time or not? So these are the regular controls that we do. And the fourth and the last thing is to learn. We need to keep learning, We can't be rigid on the things. That this has been successful, let's do it. But we need to keep learning from the process that we have and start reinventing it, then start replanning it. The second model is a cash model. So anytime if you make any of the business effective plan, no, any management plan or any of the strategies, first thing you should have a knowledge of an organization, of the stakeholders, your environment, your partners, and the staff. That helps in describing and analyzing the capacity. Second thing you need to understand is attitude. Whether they are, attitude is towards the cause or not, they'll be supporting you in terms of developing or sustaining the social impact or not. Sometimes it is in a fractionary thing, or comes up with things that, I get motivated because I met with such kind of incident that I have to work for that cause. But do you think it's going to last for a long? Is this attitude remains? People comes up and within a fancy thing, I'm studying a social work. Why? I like social work, but what is in a background of that child? That a child has done a BTech, that child has done an engineering, but he doesn't find any job or suitable job, though he shifted to a social work. You think that is going to last? So same thing we need to understand in terms of the environment we have, whether we are having the same attitude or not. And the third is need to match the skills. We have protocols and policies of hiring a manager, protocol and policy hiring a regional manager, protocol and policies of hiring a trainer, or even a computer operator. So we need to manage and basically structure those things. The fourth one is a habits. Now habit, when it comes, it's to organizing, systematic, discipline. Are you following your regular procedure of submitting reports? Are you doing rest of the part as well? And if it is not, then you are not in a cause, or you're not in a process where you can bring a social enterprise into a work or with an impact. Now, when we combine these of the models and some of the other things, when we talk for an effective action plan for our planning and management, the first thing is a critical self-assessment. What Sir has done today was a critical self-assessment. That also gives me an idea to work on the cause, to at least work on the community where no such ideas has been come up. Why? Because somebody's get affected with it. So we need to do a critical self-assessment, that where we lacking, what are the things that we are supposed to do and we have not done it. The second thing is revisit and raise the goals. See, in like in a human mind, if you ask a person that you have to walk a mile, so he'll walk a mile only. But if we have to achieve something in the social sector, you need to raise that goal. Personally speaking, 350 target for every center which I'm handling has been raised with a 25% hike. So according to them, they have a target of around 450. Why? Because there are so many drawbacks, there are so many dropouts, there are so many flaws, change of condition that has been happened. So if you don't, adjust or accommodate those things in the current scenario, you'll have to face that thing in the present or in the future. The third is implementation of a PICL model. The next one is be a leader, a manager, keep learning, cash, and self-value addition. Now this last self-value addition is one of the most important thing. I call it as in a mean machine. How come it's in a mean machine? For me, it's like every 3 months I have a value addition test for myself, or for my team, or for my centers. That is something that what was my capacity, my center's capacity, and my plant's capacity to accommodate, whether it has been increased or not. If it has not been increased, that means there's no effort has been done. It is just a monotonous process that we are following. So these are the major points that we have. plan. These are some of the references which I used for the making this presentation.